All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the History of VPR podcast. Not really doing a history piece today. We're kind of little modern now today. I got Jordan Stratton on. Everyone knows who he is. He won the Gold Cup of Saucer here on Saturday night in Charlottetown. So he was nice enough to come on and join us. So I'll bring him on right now. How you doing tonight, Jordan?
All good, man.
Right on. Appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy, buddy, so I really appreciate you coming on. But you're kind of the talk of the Maritimes right now with that win on Saturday night. And I gotta say, man, I watched it, and that horse you had, that was like the calmest horse I'd ever seen in my life after winning a big race when you were
I
taking
I
her
think he
around.
was I think he was soaking it up as much as I was. I mean, his ears were straightforward, just asking for somebody to pet him.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was watching because I was supposed to go down, but I didn't. And I was watching from home, and I was like, they're petting that horse. I've been around horses long enough, and I know what happens after a big race. Like they can be a little wild, right? But no,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's definitely not how it usually goes, and none of that was planned. But I I was having a little trouble pulling him up after the wire, and he got up near the fans, and he completely let me go. And I mean, I was just playing off of him, and he could have stayed there all night.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We'll definitely get into that because I have the end of the race. I have a few pictures and stuff, but I'm just gonna kind of get started. Like I did a little research on you there after we talked and said we are gonna do the podcast there. You were brought up, or your father was involved in harness racing. Am I correct?
Yep, my father and mother met working for Billy Houghton, who's one of the all-time greatest trainers
Yeah,
down in Florida, and we had a farm in Ohio, about 20 acres and a track, and I kind of just grew up racing horses.
right on. I seen one of the interviews you did. Your first job was counting how many laps your father took around the track. He said you only made it about 2 laps. You're like two or
Yeah,
three or
that
something. Yeah.
that was how I took a nap in the afternoon, just on the jog cart.
Nice, nice. So basically, like, I mean, like a lot of us, like I never raced horses. My father was involved in the business forever. I never actually raced horses, but I've always been a big fan. Was it something that you knew pretty quickly that's what you were going to do?
Yeah, just growing up on a farm, and I always tell a story that in grade school we had to have Plan A and Plan B. Well, I didn't have a Plan B. It was all in
Yeah,
on horse racing, and if it didn't work out, I'd figure something else out.
yeah. I think it's a lot of us that are raised. And I remember being a kid and just like always obsessed with it, right? Like wanting to go to the barns, and even like my father left and went to New Jersey. I was still in New Brunswick, where I'm at, and I remember going to the barns on race day. My mother would tell me not to. Like I go with my grandfather and say, "Okay, don't go to the barns." Like, no, I won't. I promise. And then I would just run over the barns, and I would do anything, and shovel, pull carts. I didn't care what it was. So I think once you get it, you get it, right? It's in your blood. So.
Yeah,
uh,
everybody tells you don't go into the business. It's such a hard business, but it's once it's in your blood, it's hard to stay away.
Yeah, it's even for me. Like, I mean, as an adult, I did my own thing, and I kind of came back into it a little bit here the last couple of years, and it's just like, it's just, yeah, it's huge there, buddy. So you remember your first drive when you had your first drive?
Yep. The first win was I believe it was my second drive as an amateur. The horse's
Okay,
name was Meditator. It was my dad's horse. I was fortunate enough, my dad had a pretty powerful stable, so it kind of
nice.
gave me a leg up when I first started. But I had my father's colors, a white helmet, boots that didn't fit me, and I've come a long way. But it was
Yeah.
a great experience to get that first win.
So you're pretty like when you're getting that. Was it an easy? I don't want to say an easy win, but did you win by a little bit, or was it kind of like right to the wire when you won? Do you remember?
He won pretty convincingly. He come off cover, flipping three high up the backside. From day
Yeah,
one, my father made me. Well, first he made me wait until I was 18. He said I
yeah.
wasn't ready, and then from day one it was take the horse off the gate, watch the race, let the race develop, and learn to drive from behind.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's how you win a lot. Yeah, for sure. I know Gordy Hennessy. I don't know if you know the Hennessy's like Wally and them. I had Gordy on one. I had the whole family on, and Gordy was had done an interview years before, and he talked about how he lost his whip when he won his first race. Like he just it was okay. He was trying to get it, and the horse was just flying, or he lost his whip. So I've heard some funny stories about guys' first wins. You know how they
Yeah,
get pretty excited. Yeah. Let's take a look at what we got here. Yeah, quick. Like some of your favorite horses that you driven. Maybe like when you first started out. Who was some of the favorite horses that you drove?
my dad went over to New Zealand and imported a horse, King Cat Amble. He was in the Levy series here. He was probably a better horse than I should have been driving at the time, but like I said, he had a powerful stable, and it really helped me when I first starting out.
Nice, nice. There's something here now. I talked to my uncle. All my uncles are big racing fans, and my uncle Blair and my uncle Peter. One of their favorite horses. I want to show a little clip of his Bit of Legend, and that's one of their
Yeah,
favorite horses. Yeah,
he's my all-time favorite horse. He was such a cool horse, and he was probably the first Grand Circuit horse that I really followed around, and he won every leg of the Levy and won the final, which no horse has ever done before or after. And he was just an unbelievable animal.
so I got a little clip here. Actually, I want to bring up of
Oh,
that
sweet.
horse. Yeah, so I'll bring it's just. I think it's a Levy race. Actually, it's the last. Like I usually when I show clips, I usually show the last like quarter or so. So I'll bring it up right here. We're
Okay.
muted, so when it's over, we can talk about
Yep.
it. So yeah, here it comes now.
3-1, and they're on the final turn. It's Bit of a Legend who turned back. Take it back, Terry. All bets off. PH Supercam's unwinding 3 wide at the top of the stretch, and it's still Bit of a Legend trying to see this through. To the inside, all bets off. PH Supercam is coming up on the far outside, and then splitting horses. Texacan, Bit of a Legend looking for the line. On the inside, all bets off. The Levy goes to Bit of a Legend. All bets off. Texacan and PH Supercam in 151.
Yeah, from
Yeah, that was the final there, and actually happened to be my mother's birthday that night, so
Oh, nice,
it was
nice.
a little extra special, and my family was there, and just to win every leg of the final. It's 5 weeks in a row, that series,
Mhm.
and then the final.
Yeah.
So he won 6 weeks in a row against open class horses, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I seen that race. I actually watched the full race. I don't usually put the full ones on in case unless it's something like I really need to. You led from the start. I think. No, I think it was like around pretty early on. You led pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
I moved to the front. You know, he had plenty of respect after winning, and he went from the front, first over, behind. He could do it all. He was a
Yeah,
champion over in New Zealand, and he's in the breeding shed now. Hopefully, his offspring follow in his footsteps.
nice, definitely. Yeah, yeah. My uncle, because I mentioned this, I'm gonna have you on. He's like, he texted me. He's like, well, mention this since it's like Blair. My uncle Blair is a huge fan. My uncle Peter, they're both big fans of that horse. So he's like, you gotta bring that horse up. So I went and
Yeah,
took a look, and
he'll always have a spot in my heart.
yeah, definitely. So what's some of the other like I did a little bit of research on you. What's some of the other big races that you won through this? Because you won a lot. Like you've done pretty well for yourself so far. What's
Thank
some of
you.
the other big races that you remember winning? Like some of the big ones. Yeah, go ahead.
The Levy, I had a couple good years in Northfield. I won the Battle of Lake Erie,
Yeah,
the Carl Milstein, and the Open Trot. I can't. It's an invite. I can't remember the name of it, but
mm,
Bit of a Legend actually won the Battle of Lake Erie also. So
nice,
I've had some
nice,
success and traveling around. It's brought me some opportunities to travel the world. I went to Ireland and won a
nice,
race over there. That was
nice,
unbelievable. They really took care of us. But
nice.
I've raced in France and a couple trips to Canada, which was great.
So I'm gonna bring up the Gold Cup now because I was thinking to myself like, how am I gonna ask about it now? Because like the Gold Cup in the Maritimes, it's massive. I mean, and I'm gonna show a cool picture. I'm gonna tie it all in here in a second. But so, Scott was over before. Like your partner was over. He drove in the trial. Now, did you know about PEI? Like, did you have an idea about it before you came over? Like, what was your like thought of? Did you even hear of PEI? Because some people don't.
I always try to watch the race, but watching the race doesn't do it justice at all.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, I raced won the Camluck in London, and that's a great event. But
hmm
this takes it to a whole new level.
So they tell you like, okay, we want you to go over and race, and it was funny because you were in the 9 hole, and last year the 9 won also because I was actually there last year for it. Let me just take a quick look at my notes real quick here. So you come over, like what's your experience? Like you get in there? Did you get in like Saturday or were you in Friday? Like when did you get to PEI?
Um, Leading up to it, I spoke with Jeff, and we looked at both of our stake schedules, and I was kind of committed to go to Northfield the previous Saturday, and he said he would work on getting somebody to go with him in the eliminations, and luckily Scott did a great job with both horses. Couldn't have drove them
hmm
any better,
Yeah,
and Jeff was nice enough to let me have my pick on which one I wanted to go with, and we drew the 9 with Covered Bridge, which being a trailer, it wasn't the greatest spot, but much better than the 7 or 8 hole.
Yeah, because at least you're behind the leader, right? So that definitely helps you behind the one. So you get the PEI. What's your first, like? Because I mean, what's your first? Like, 'cause you've been to all the big tracks. Do you see it as like any? What's your impression of it? Basically, what I'm trying to ask.
I didn't really know what to expect. I got in Saturday. Looking
Yeah,
back, I kind of wish I would have taken a few extra days. We'll have to save that for next year. But
yeah,
I got in Saturday, had a couple flight delays, met up with
yeah,
Jeff and
exactly.
Sarah and the groom Sarah, and we had lunch and just discussed how the horses are feeling, and went back, took a nap, and headed to the races. I was actually in the grandstand for the first 4 or 5 races, so I got to
Nice.
experience all the lead up to it, and people just
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. They just kept filing in one after the other all the way to midnight.
It's absolutely wild. I was there last year. Like I'm a big racing fan, but I didn't go up for any. I went up for my first one last year. I mean, a friend of mine, and we actually had a table inside. And she's like, "Let's go out and watch the Gold Cup outside." I'm like, "All right." And she's like, "I can't move." I'm like, "Yeah, it is just so like this." And it was so we gotta like for us in Canada. Like I'm not a big fan of heat. It was pretty hot, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But it's definitely an experience. So I'm gonna show the end of the race, the end of the Gold
Okay.
Cup. I got that here too, and we'll kind of like go through a few things, show a couple pictures and stuff like that, and go from there. So here it is here.
PL Aussie, 3/4 up in 1:22 and 4, rounding the turn with an 1/8 of a mile to go. Fun at the beach, homeward bound in the Cup and Tosser. Roll them up the rail, way wide, covered bridge, they're in deep. Stretch now, up against the clock. Here's covered bridge, in line to Jordan Stratton in the Gold Cup and Saucer, number 64. Time for the mile, 1:53. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny when you threw your whip. My friend's like, "Did he throw his whip?" Like she was watching, like, "How he did?" She's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it's just caught up in the moment
No.
and just
Oh, I think I lost you there for a second.
Mm.
There you are. You're
There we
back.
go.
I lost you. You went black there for a second. No, it's all good, man. I just thought it was funny. 'Cause yeah, definitely. Like, so yeah, because I watched your post race interview, and you were kind of like, not feeling too hot about it around the half, because you were stuck back there for a bit.
Yeah. Obviously I've driven both horses plenty, and actually won the Battle of Lake Erie with Fun at the Beach, and when he clears like that and swells up, I thought, man, the race is over. And then I'm wide in the turn, and I needed a couple feet to clear Jody's legs, and it just wasn't there. His horse kept trucking, and
Yeah.
I didn't really know I was going to get there until halfway down the wire, down the stretch.
And then you got it. Yeah, because that was a crazy race. I mean, Dale goes to the front and just like, and I'm friends with Dale. I love Dale. He's a great guy, right? I was like, "Come on, Dale, like get it, buddy." I knew he wasn't going to. I'm like, because I love him to death. But I thought, God, he's at the front, man. They're gonna catch up to him so quick. and Dale's just a
Yeah,
fantastic guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough horse too. I raced against him as a 3-year-old. He's very high speed, but once you start him up, it's game over.
Yeah, yeah. No, we were all rooting for him, but I mean, we kind of sensed. I mean, like my friends were like, "Well, who do you think's going to win?" They're looking at the program, like, "Well, that 9 horse, man, like, come on, no one's going to beat him. Look at the speed on this thing, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "I can't see it." So I'll tell you something funny. So I'm watching on TV, and you come around, and you're going to all the fans, which is amazing. Great thing. I'll show a few pictures here in a second. I don't know if it was a production truck, but I don't know if you heard, but they're like, "Oh my God, we had to get him like last year," because last year Anthony McDonald won it, and he kind of did the same thing, and they're saying it out loud, so they don't think we can hear it. They're like, "We have to go get him." So they're like, I know they're kind of like in the winter, so like, "Where's this guy going?" And you're going to people, which was like the coolest thing ever. Like, I mean, you like made everyone's night doing that. It was such an awesome thing, right? And I'm going to tie it into a little.
They made mine.
Go ahead. I'm going to tie it into a little picture here. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying they made my night.
That's awesome. I'll show you a cool picture. This picture here you took, and you probably remember because you took a lot of pictures. That there, now, the man with the hat, that is actually, he trained a horse that won the Gold Cup and Saucer in 1974 that my grandfather owned.
Okay.
Called Scotch Gum, and that's his son. So it's Bill Nicholson. Bill. Well, you can basically call him Bill Nicholson Senior now because his father drove Scotch Gorman, and that's his son next to him, Bill Nicholson. They're all Bill Nicholson. Like, there's Bill Nicholson Senior, who was a driver in the 70s and 80s, and then that's Billy Jr.
Okay.
He trained all the horses. That also drove himself, and this is the picture of Scotch Gorman in the Gold Cup in 1974.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'll show you something else really cool here in a second. I'll get it ready here, and so there's that, and here is that the original
awesome.
trophy from 19. Little smaller than the one you guys won, a bit smaller, but yeah, no, Billy. 1 second here, I'll put this back. Bill Jr., who took the picture with, he trained a lot of my grandfathers. So my grandfather owned horses in the 70s and 80s, which if you kind of see it. There's a painting right behind me here. You might see above my Kansas City Chiefs thing.
Yep.
It's a painting of Scotch Gorman with my grandfather in the 70s. And this horse was like God sent to us. Like, he won a bunch of races in the 70s, won horse of the year a couple times. Because, in the early...
And they raced there at Charlottetown?
They raced in the Gold Cup in 1974. I wasn't even born yet. I've heard the stories a million times. But my grandfather hid in the grandstand, I guess, because he was so nervous. So and so Bill Jr., who had the hat on, he was the trainer. I think Bill, someone had been really young, and his father, Bill Sr., was the driver. And I mean, you couldn't ask for a nicer man. I got another picture of them real quick here. This is them all three with Scotch Gorman back in the 70s. Yeah. So it was kind of cool when I seen that. That's what gave me the idea to get a hold of you. I seen that picture on Bill's Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God, Ty's printing perfect, So I thought that was really
worked
cool.
Out great.
Yeah, and I have a picture of you here with everyone with the trophy. Like I said, it's a bit bigger than the one I have. So
yeah, that's awesome. But the winner's circle's cool, but nothing compares to meeting all the fans there. And I could have stayed there all night. Everybody had something nice to say, and it's because of them that race holds so much esteem in everyone's mind.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, the thing about the island is, it's funny. I live in a different province, and I don't want to say my city is rough, but it's a little rough. And we were down the island last year. We were watching the race, and we were getting ready to leave. We were kind of going past the fair, and me and my friend were lost. And this person just jumped in front of me, and I thought, "Oh my God, we're getting into a fight! What's happening here? Why is this person jumping in front of me?" He's like, "You look lost." And we're like, yeah, come here, let me show you how to get out of here. And we're like, what in the God's world is wrong with this person? Like, we couldn't believe it. Because, like, if someone jumps in front of you at night, you're assuming you're getting robbed or something, right?
Right.
And this is like the nicest person in the world. Like, showed us how to get out of there. So, no, it's a great thing. It's a really, like, again, I know it said it made your night. You made a lot of people's night, too. It was the talk of everywhere the next day. Even that night, like, I was talking to different people. Like, I can't believe that guy went around and shook everybody's hand and let them pet the horse. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really big thing. So maybe you come back next year, maybe for another one. You thinking?
I plan on it. A lot of things can change, but hopefully, yeah. And it worked out almost like a movie script. Jeff Gillis has raced in it a couple times, and I guess it's been his dream, and his father's dream was passed along now, but to win that race, and he had his extended family there, and everything couldn't have worked out any better.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You had a great race, great horse. Before I go, did you get to, like, I know that you were there that night. Did you get to hang out with anybody? Like, have some food and a couple drinks, I guess, after the race?
We dropped the horses off, and it's so late. We got back to the track around 2:00, and we hung out a little bit. All of Jeff's family was there, so they were enjoying that, and I finally tapped out about 3:30. I made Sarah bring me home, but it was a phenomenal time. And I was able to get a start beforehand. Mark Campbell was nice enough to let me drive one of his, and that really helped too.
Yeah, no, they have a good time at the end. I know I talked to a couple guys. I didn't start messaging people until about 3 or 4 the next day, like in the afternoon, because I know the boys don't get out of there until about 4 or 5 in the morning. I think someone posted a picture on Facebook at 5:30 in the morning, still going strong. It's like,
man, yeah.
I'm
a little bit of a little bit of an introvert, so I just kind of slide out the old Irish goodbye.
Probably a smart thing for the head the next day. You don't want to be hanging out too long because I'm pretty sure everybody, but they have it's a huge thing, and it was really cool that you won it, man. Like I said, 2 reasons I seen that picture you take with Bill. I thought that'd be awesome to tie in, and just like you seemed like you had a fantastic time. I thought bring you on, talk a little bit, and it was an awesome race, great win on your part. Yeah, like I mean that's basically it. Do you want to add anything else, Jordan, before we go?
No, I agree. I had a great time. It's when I was deciding whether to go or not, every driver I asked, it was either the best time of their life or on their bucket list yet to do. So I jumped at the opportunity, and I've told everyone I've seen they're probably sick of hearing it now, but it's almost like I don't know what the right thing to do is by telling all these guys around here to make the trip. At the same time, you want to let the local drivers enjoy it too, but couldn't ask for any more hospitality, and I just had a great time.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Like it's interesting because I talked to a guy this afternoon, and he's like, "Well, local drivers." I said, "I get it, but it's a Gold Cup. It's been like this forever. It's just kind of the way that it is." I mean, in my city, St. John, we used to have like the provincial cup back when our track was going really strong in the 80s, and we had lots of guys from the States come down. Like Jimmy Doherty was actually from here. If you ever heard the name Jimmy Doherty, he actually was from St. John, and he would bring his horses down. And it kind of comes to the territory now. I mean, you guys wanted like it's a big race, and we appreciate everybody coming down, making it a big race, right? Myself, like I'm not from Charlottetown, but I'm connected with them guys, like Lee Drake and all the guys, and they're fantastic people. Like you couldn't ask for nicer people with Lee, and I talked to Jerry a lot because Jerry does his story and stuff, and they're all great people, right? So it's definitely it's a once in a lifetime thing up there for sure for that weekend. So yeah, well, awesome, Jordan.
It's phenomenal.
How many races do you got going tonight? You got a lot of horses going tonight?
I think there's 11 tonight. It's a little overcast, slight rain.
Yeah,
but it's hard to get excited after coming off the Canadian high.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. We loved having you here, man. And hopefully we get to see you again next year. And good luck tonight. Good luck in the future going forward. We'll definitely keep an eye on your progress up there. Or down there, sorry. Not up there. We're up there.
Down there,
We're up. You guys are down. And thanks a lot for coming on, Jordan. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, buddy. Have a good night.